I am happy to be here and talk to you guys. Like you said, I'm the co-founder of the Crypto Club. During the pandemic, we actually started a club called the Crypto Club on Clubhouse. We have close to 100,000 members all over the world that we host different AMAs and regular speaking events via Clubhouse. Just talking about cryptocurrency and getting the conversation running with a bunch of the newest people around crypto. Something that's really cool is that in terms of the pandemic, has actually been able to enforce and innovate technology. So that's something that we generally always talk about, which is the future of crypto. And we love having that conversation. So I'm going to have that conversation with you guys in a very, very short span. Okay. The beauty of this is I like Zoom is that I can actually share my screen. So I'm going to share my screen for you and I'm going to show you guys something in terms of what I normally talk about with people. And it's kind of interesting because I normally have a conversation, but I have to like talk to people about it via and describe it in words and use all these different types of terminologies. Now I can just show you guys. All right. So we're going to be talking about four specific things. One is investments, two is DeFi, three is the metaverse, and then four is NFTs. Okay. So when we're looking at investments, okay, everyone understands Bitcoin. And I like to understand Bitcoin from a different perspective, which is the power of investing and just holding or hodling, dollar cost averaging. I'm an investor. I started investing back in 2017. Okay. I got my first Bitcoin I ever bought was under $1,000. My first ETH was under it was really low. And since then, I've been able to continually dollar cost average, get into mining. I was able to work at a trading desk before. And now my overall goal as an entrepreneur is just more spreading the knowledge base in terms of investing and helping people understand the power of it. Okay. So what you have here is a website called dcabtc.com. What this website does, it just helps you understand the power of $10 a week. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little story here so you guys can understand. Imagine 9 years ago, okay, you're walking on the streets of Toronto and you understand what Bitcoin is. You see a homeless person and they're always asking for money. You take them and you help them start up a Bitcoin wallet. And you tell them, hey, instead of eating or smoking or doing whatever you're doing with your money, how about you take $10 of that money on a daily basis and throw it into Bitcoin? You can utilize this Bitcoin ATM, or you can utilize this smart contract or utilize this local Bitcoin. I will personally help you and guide you through this. Okay. If they were to do that over the last 9 years, well, this homeless person would no longer be homeless. They'd be a multimillionaire. That's one. They would have a lot of money. But the two is that at the first, it wouldn't really do anything. You can see it wouldn't really do anything, but they would now have this thing where hopefully you'd have changed their life because they would actually start seeing the fact of value of money and investing and whatnot because you're working with them. But the biggest thing is that in 2017, they would have had $1 million, right? That's cool. At this point here, you would have been able to help them even more. But at this point now, what you can see is just power of hodling. They're close to $7 million and they haven't really done anything except just hodl. And that's the power of investing, right? Now, let's fast forward. I have 3 kids and I have a wife. And my thing is that with my kids, all the money that they're getting is I'm actually throwing it into Bitcoin. And the reason why is because it's probably one of the best things that I can do for them. Now, the reason I see that as the best thing I can do for them is that until otherwise proven, Bitcoin's generally going to be that thing that everyone wants to collect. But what I see it as is like a conduit or gold. I see it as something that people want to hold on to, or the landmass that is the blockchain that we talk about, right? And so in terms of that, I now see the big picture of it where within the next 10, 20, 30 years, this thing can now house a lot more of the money in the world. And so when I was reading an article this weekend and I was talking about what if all the money in the world that was printed like in the last 2 years was to go into cryptocurrency. And it would be sitting, if Bitcoin would be, particularly Bitcoin would be sitting at $7.18 million per coin, right? And the thing is that it was made to house all the money in the world. So that's when I started understanding more about like, so it's more beneficial for me to dollar cost average and buy into it than to do anything else. Yeah. Now I do margin trading and I do other stuff. That's other businesses I like to do. But my biggest forefront or my biggest attention is into just investing and throwing money into it, because as we know, inflation has brought us up to 5% in Canada, 6.8% in the States, which if you're looking all over the world, is generally you're seeing anywhere between 10, 20, and 40-year highs on inflation. Okay. Which means that the next thing that should be happening is interest rates. Now, interest rates is better for you to have cash, but inflation is just always going to be something that's going to be around. So it's always going to be better for you to have some sort of asset that you can actually earn off of. Bitcoin is one of those assets. Now, the thing that we're actually we're working on right now, not we, but we as in the whole blockchain and crypto space, is decentralized finance and centralized finance. One of the centralized finance locations that you can actually look at is Celsius. I'm talking about Celsius because it's just one of many. There are different ones, but this is one of the centralized finances places that are really easy for people to utilize. You can earn and borrow with Celsius. So I just got it. I've been using Celsius for the last 2 years now. Really interesting. I always get emails saying you just earned this much in Bitcoin, and it's because I hold some Bitcoin in here. Now, the reason why I hold some Bitcoin in here is because of what they're doing. One is that I can earn and I can borrow on my Bitcoin. So what is this? So let's say, for instance, that same dollar cost averaging that we talked about, you have $5.3 million in the last 9 years, and you take $1 million of it and throw it into Celsius. Now, let's say, for instance, that instead of now taking money out, because that's what everyone in the investment world, a lot of people always ask me, is like, well, when are you going to sell? What are you going to do? In centralized finance and in DeFi, you don't really need to sell anymore. You can borrow off yourself. And so this is like a loophole of greatness, because especially if you're an entrepreneur or you're a musician or you're someone that is taking the money and putting it into another investment, right? There would be no point of you now borrowing of taking the money out, because now you're taking the asset or taking the principal out, and you're now having less of a principal when you can just borrow from it at a 1% loan and then pay yourself back. You're now the bank. And this is where it changes the game, because now instead of you going to the bank and saying, I need money to buy this guitar or buy this house or buy this whatever, you can now go to yourself and say, okay, I need to borrow this money, and now I'm going to pay it back, because the money that you're borrowing as an entrepreneur is going to now be able to pay back. And so this is where it's really cool, and it changes up the way that we're looking at this entire space, because it's no longer about how I can take money out. It's more about how can I keep money in? Where do I need to move my money next, right? And in the stock market, we know about this through bonds and stocks, right? So when the interest rates are high, generally speaking, most people will start going into bonds. When the interest rates are low, most people will start going into stocks, right? And so this is kind of where people have been going. Now you can add crypto, because crypto is going to kind of move in the same type of place. And I see it moving like that because of the fact that it only makes sense. There are bonds that are in cryptocurrency. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but there are places where you can go to and get actual bonds, where if you look at it in terms of if it moves something like the regular world, we can now look and see that you can now make money off of this stuff. Okay. And as an investor, it's generally one of the first things I'm thinking about, which is how do I turn a profit off some of this stuff? Now, in terms of the technology part, this is where it changes the world, because I look at it as a vehicle where it can now take the average person right now and it can give them a lot of options. But as we move forward in cryptocurrency and more money starts going into cryptocurrency, I'm seeing the fact that the average person is going to be priced out. And I say it from this point of view in terms of like, it's not a good thing, because I think that as early adopters, and believe everyone on this call is probably an early adopter, or else you wouldn't be here. We are in a place where we get to see the infancy and the building of this whole ecosystem. Now, once the ecosystem becomes what it becomes, I really do believe that people will be in it, but they won't be in it because of the fact of them choosing to. They'll be in it because they're kind of forced to. Example, imagine you're in El Salvador right now, right? And they just adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, and they're starting to put their balance sheet on Bitcoin. All of a sudden, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is being utilized all over El Salvador. People are buying ice cream with it. Now, imagine you're the old lady in El Salvador, old man in El Salvador, who never really even utilized cryptocurrency, never thought about cryptocurrency. And now all of a sudden, you have to now figure it out. The beauty of that is that they're figuring it out still early. The sad thing about it is that they're figuring it out late. Now imagine the rest of the world, right? And I know a lot of times we have this fight about whether or not this will become something. But what I look at is I start looking at the laws, and I start looking at the governments, and I start looking at all these things in place, and they're trying to actually implement. And that's through the regulations that they're trying to implement. You already know in the States, we have the infrastructure bill with the crypto tax that gets introduced in 2023. I'm very confident that that is the roadmap for not just the States, but for also Canada, right? And because of the fact that they have the blueprint, right? And like my friend was talking about in Ontario, that they're not allowing Binance, the OSC was really going hard last year in terms of making sure who can be involved in Canada and cryptocurrencies. They're not trying to get rid of cryptocurrency. They're trying to get their foothold in. And this is where DeFi versus CeFi comes in, right? Which one do you want to utilize? I personally utilize more decentralized finance, more than centralized finance, but I will utilize centralized finance as well, just because it's also good, right? There's ways to utilize everything. And like you're talking about 15% tax, you're going to have to pay the tax eventually. So you got to figure out ways to get in and get out. All right. So, but the beauty of it is this, that if you can now hold the value of the money that you have, that's where it changes. Next, okay? So we've explored the investing side, the dollar cost averaging. We've explored the centralized finance and the decentralized finance. Now let's go into the metaverse. Now the metaverse is actually pretty dope. This is a game called Upland. Okay, this is claiming to be a metaverse. What you're actually buying in Upland, this is actually my Upland. What you're buying in Upland is you're buying properties. Okay, all over the United States of America currently, but they're going to add different ones. There are different versions of metaverses. There's Sandbox, Decentraland, and they all do the similar thing, which is they all are giving you a universe to play around it. So in Upland, what I can personally do is I can travel all over the United States of America, and I can buy houses. This is what's so crazy, is that you can buy houses in the metaverse, right? And you can see there's other players in here. I can buy a house, many different houses in the same neighborhood. But here's an example of a house, or a couple houses. I don't know. I own 3 houses here. Oh, cool. No, I own 1 house. Oh, actually, I don't know if I own a house there. Maybe I own a house here. So what ends up happening is that you have these houses that now, oh, I do own houses. Okay, nice, cool. So let's see. Let's see if I can show you my house. I can actually build on the house too, which this is a whole other thing where it's like kind of like Monopoly, but you own like an NFT of the house, right? So here's an actual house, right? This is the actual address with the actual picture based off of Google, and it's just the NFT, which we already know as a non-fungible token means that as I'm credited with this house on the EOS network. Okay, that's what this house is on. It's on the EOS network. And I can zoom in. There's my house. It'd be really weird if someone was standing in front of it. I'm so glad that they didn't get that picture. But it's pretty cool because I own the house next to it and the house next to it. Now, imagine now as so I own these 3 row houses all together. So now imagine as every month I get paid out all the time 15.73 UPX tokens. I get paid another with collections 13 to 16 UPX tokens. UPX tokens are on the EOS network. They're just another type of cryptocurrency. Now the cool thing is that it's not. I don't consider this like, oh man, look at me, I have UPX tokens. They're actually, it means nothing to me at this point, right? But now imagine Upland is, if you guys use a Brave browser, Upland is utilizing a lot of they're doing a lot of advertising, right? A whole lot of advertising. So now imagine that Upland becomes one of the metaverses that you want to be in, right? I'm an early adopter of Upland. And now imagine now that I'm now here in Upland and I have this house and people are buying it. I've already seen inflation in Upland and I've seen it through me buying and haven't sold anything yet because there's no point at this point. Like actually there's a point. There's 2 ways you can play the game. You can buy and sell like regular real estate or Monopoly. I haven't done that yet, but you can sell it where I've seen the inflation happen, where I personally bought this house for 840 UPX tokens. Okay. So now here's an interesting thing. Here's the house right across from me. Here's how much it's selling for 1 million. I have 3 houses right here that I paid 850 UPX tokens for, and the house right next door to me is selling for 1 million. So if I was to now sell my 3 houses, that'd be 1 million. The average price that I paid was 850. So that means every single house, that's 3 million UPX tokens, which 10,000 UPX tokens is roughly about $10. So 3 million is roughly about I want to say $30, but I think it's more like 300, which is pretty cool because if you think about it, I didn't spend a lot of money for this. I happened to get in really early. So if this is what they're kind of gearing around, I'm okay with that because this is where buying and holding kind of comes in. And now this is a metaverse. The metaverse is an ecosystem where you can have a digital like house or a digital life, right? And we're in this digital life, there's a whole entire world kind of working at, right? And all you need to do is just be there. So this is where Upland kind of works out, where you have this entire ecosystem and you can utilize it and see it in terms of how big it is with different people. These are all playing pieces and everyone just going around and buying different houses. You can collect UPX tokens on a regular basis. So this is passive income, right? Like this is how you have to think about it. This is how big this all gets, right? And this is the metaverse. This is a metaverse. It's not just there's Facebook announces that they're going to change their name to Meta. And all of a sudden, Decentraland shoots up because everyone's like, that's the token. Facebook hasn't released its token yet. But Facebook as a metaverse has roughly about 1 to 2 billion people. They say 2 billion, but we already know that there's a bunch of trolls on there that are not real. So I would probably say they probably have 1.5 billion people on Facebook, and I don't think 2 billion. I have to account for the amount of fake people on Facebook. So now we look at that and we see, okay, there's a bunch of people on there. They have the people, the capacity to change people over into the metaverses. Now, in terms of these centralized versus decentralized, Facebook would be more of a centralized metaverse. This one, Upland, would probably be, it is a centralized metaverse. Actually, you know what? I haven't given my KYC. So no, this is not a centralized metaverse. This is more decentralized. If they do a KYC, then they become centralized. But the cool thing about it is that this is what it would be like. Now, imagine now Upland instead of an avatar like this, they now start utilizing the actual avatar. There's already things like Oculus and different VR cameras that are actually taking pictures of you and now putting you in metaverses, right? And this is kind of that virtual reality taken to the next level. We are going here, right? And this is not something that you can stop. Crypto is actually infusing that and helping that. And this is where the future kind of lies, where now I own a virtual property. I've never even been to Fresno, California, or New York, or I've been to New York, but San Francisco, think I own something in New Orleans as well. I haven't been anywhere like that, but I have properties there virtually, and so it's cool, right? They also did a deal with the NFL, which it's pretty cool because when you think about it, like you get to own some different stuff. They have like a lot of different NFTs. They were doing an NFT launch with someone else. Like, so like these are all NFTs, right? And this is where you get to kind of see the benefits of everything through Upland, through all their built through what they're building and not doing everything. So like, yeah, you can see right here, 100,000 UPX tokens is $100. So the person selling their house for $1 million, it's actually more than 300. Sorry, it's like 3,000. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I just realized how much that's absolute nuts. Anyways, I'm sure, but I'm also sure that will probably be what will happen because there are some people who are been in this game for a while, and that's kind of like what happens even in a housing market. Okay, next. So now we've gone through investing, we've gone through DeFi, we've gone through metaverses, now NFTs. Now the cool thing about NFTs and the easiest way to understand it and the way I always picture it is that NFTs are just the artwork that are going to be hanging in your digitalized house, right? That's how you can see it. So this is rarity.tools. It's another website that you can utilize to kind of see what type of NFTs are coming out. And same thing, it's all about in terms of investing, the power of investing. I'm not even talking about people that are flipping NFTs and making like money off of it. Like you see these, I've always said that the best and the worst thing that's ever happened is that when you hear about the person that made millions of dollars off of something but it's not duplicatable, right? And I say it's not duplicatable because it's not like at the end of the day you can now be like, oh, I'm going to buy this NFT for 0.015 ETH and I'm going to flip it for 2 ETH, but no one actually wants it. Now, this is cool. There's 33 in total, but realistically, it needs to have a whole market. There is a market for everything, right? And this is where you can now get into these markets early by utilizing something like rarity.tools and seeing what's coming out. And if you decide that you want to buy them, buy them. But my biggest thing in terms of NFTs and which ones to buy, you're more looking at which ones you kind of want to actually keep. And I say it from that point of view of that if you're not willing to keep it, don't buy it. Because if no one's going to buy it from you, then therefore you have to keep it. So something like Upland, same thing. I'm holding an NFT of a house. If no one wants to buy it, then I can have it on the market forever. And I can say, oh, look at this. It's on sale for 1 million UPX tokens. But if no one comes around and says, I'm going to buy it for 1 million UPX tokens, then it's not moving, right? So this is where just kind of how NFTs work. This is why I like margin trading more than anything else, because there's always someone buying and selling. Whereas NFTs, there is someone buying and there is someone selling, but this is a cool place where you can go to and kind of catch the newest NFT before it comes out, and you can start looking and seeing what's coming out before everyone else, right? And you can kind of see 7-day volume, what's kind of hot and what's kind of not. And it's definitely a cool place to be. And I must say, like, you can really explore what's happening in NFT space, and you can get ahead of it too. And I always say, like, it's good to get ahead. It's good to be involved in this place because this is part of cryptocurrency, right? The ever evolving cryptocurrency is not just us in investing. It's not just us in NFTs, it's not just us in metaverses, it's us everywhere, right? And my background, I got started with mining, and I went from mining to investing to understanding NFTs to helping people understand how to get in, how to get out, how to move around. And in cryptocurrency, it's evolving, and as we continue going, we start moving forward. Questions. What are your views on abstract NFTs?
Are you asking this, Manny?
No, someone asked me it.
Oh, apologies. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. My views on abstract NFTs rather than avatars. I honestly think that in terms of, I don't think that there'll be one type of anything, right? And I'm not dogmatic, and I'm not a person that's tribalistic. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So I think that there's room for everything in cryptocurrency. So like my views on it, you're as good on abstract as you're good on avatars. It all depends on where your market is. It all depends on what the actual result that you want out of it, right? If you're looking in terms of investments, you're just looking in terms of what everyone wants. If you're looking in terms of what you like, that changes the game. Because when you're looking at what you like, if I like paintings, right? I'm not gonna like music. There's like NFTs like Audius, right? Where you can now take a musician, they can release their music on an application like Audius and cut out all the middlemen and actually be in front of their actual audience, right? And Audius is trying to take over for Spotify or iTunes. So instead of having that middleman, you have something like Audius, which is an application, which is great. That's one way of utilizing NFTs. So I think that like when we're looking at NFTs, I don't think it's as easy as this is the one way or which way is going to be the best way. I think there's lots of different ways in cryptocurrency. There's many different ways to get to the ending or get to where we're going, which is I think it's going to be mass adoption. I see where we're going with this. It's we're now 1 to 2% adoption. I see this as mass adoption because it's technology, and I see us moving forward towards it. And I don't see us going backwards. I see us just continually moving forward, where the evolution of cryptocurrency becomes a thing where in the future, everything I just talked about, which is investments, DeFi, metaverses, and NFTs, and there's more, there's gaming and there's other things. But I see everything being housed on blockchain and blockchain technology. And there'll be some sort of I like the idea of the city coins. I started hearing about that, and then I started reading about it and hearing about more about like things that they're doing in Miami and things that they're doing in other parts of the world. All I have to say is that we're in a great place, but we are early adopters. We're so early, and we're helping innovate the actual space. But thank you so much in terms of having me up here. I enjoyed every minute in terms of sharing with you guys. If you guys need to reach out to me, please, the Manny Fraser is my Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Anthony, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Manny. It's much appreciated, and really thankful that you really demonstrated the three varying areas that are very prominent right now in blockchain and showcase them and what their implications are. I do have one brief question before we move on to our next talk. I know you talked about crypto as a mechanism to place money instead of retrace money. And I'm curious, do you think that crypto will be viewed as actual money in the future, or just another investable asset that acts differently than the current markets, therefore being something to check out with that has different metrics?
I personally think cryptocurrency is going to be money. And I think that there are going to be different places. Like there's your CBDCs, which already we know that China's created the digital yuan, which is housed in their own blockchain that's housed on their own thing, right? I honestly think that their cryptocurrency will be a form of money. Now, this is where it's like, which crypto? And this is where I'm kind of like, I don't think that either A, we haven't invented it yet, or B, it's not made for it yet. And I don't think it's any of the cryptos that we're utilizing now. Because I think that, for instance, I think Bitcoin is a store of value. I don't think Bitcoin is going to be good for transactions, right? So now you got to look at transactional currencies that are good for transactions. But I think crypto makes sense as a form of money, right? CBDs, because money realistically is anything that stores value that people are willing to accept. So if I'm willing to pay you in Toronto coin and you're like, thank you, I like this, then you're going to accept it, right? For whatever it is. So I think all it is a form of it's transactional. And it's more just about me being able to give you, you being able to give me, and us agreeing upon whatever the transaction is. I think cryptocurrency within the decentralized world makes more sense. But if you actually look in our past as humans, you look in our history, we've always been decentralized in some sorts of ways, just that we never had the internet to connect us. And now it's like we're heading backwards into this place where we liked before, but we have the internet connecting us all over the world. Where I live and wherever I live, and then there's people that I talk to that are in China or in Australia or anywhere in the world, and we're all being connected through technology.
Yeah, so the ideology preceded the technology, and now we're finally seeing that alignment come together, especially with Bitcoin or the other cryptos. They're deflationary assets, which definitely is of benefit for your purchasing power. So
Got it.
there's a bonus there. So thank you again, Manny, so much for your time. If you can hop in even for our following talk here with Ori Ohayon, that would be a pleasure.